Senator Lindsey Graham joins us now. Senator, I can't believe it. I'm seeing optimistic reports from China and from our Jameson Greer, as well as Scott Bessent, about the framework of a deal with China. How do you feel about it?
Well, I'm pretty optimistic. Scott Bessent, we could not have a better representative than Scott. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to have a better trading relationship with China. Trump is really the first president in my lifetime, be honest with you, who stood up to China. They steal our intellectual property. They dump steel on the market below cost to drive us out of the steel business. So Trump is trying to level the playing field. He's got a lot of tariffs on Chinese products, but the goal is to come out with a trade deal where we'll have access to their markets, sell them soybeans. Half the soybeans in America are sold to China, but also to have a deal that we can live with where they do not cheat, to have a level playing field and lower tariffs as much as possible in a win-win situation. And the only reason we're having this meeting and the only reason we're optimistic about better days ahead with China is because Trump stood up to China.
So, quick thing, he's also asking China to pressure Vladimir Putin to end the war in Ukraine. And we know that the Chinese state-owned oil companies said they are pausing purchases of seaborne Russian crude. Okay, that's not zero, but that shows they're responding to something.
Yeah, the key to ending the war is that Putin's economy is based on oil and gas. So if you could reduce the revenues coming from oil and gas sales by Russia, you would knock him out of the game. Well, the largest purchaser of Russian oil is China. The top three are China, India, and Brazil. What if one day Putin got a call from all three countries and said, you need to go to the peace table. This is now hurting us. That's the way to end the war. So by putting sanctions on the two largest oil companies in Russia, it's made dealing with Russia by China more problematic. You see China backing away from refining Russian oil. You see the same thing in India, but we need more of it. One of the goals for me of this meeting in China is for President Trump to get the assistance of President Xi in China to push Putin to the peace table. I've always believed that if the Chinese president called Putin and told him it's time to end this war because you're hurting my economy, my country now, would end, and I'm hoping that will happen.
Day 27 of the shutdown, I see our Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, warns of a record strain on air traffic controllers. Yesterday in Los Angeles, they paused flights because of air traffic controllers. Yeah. What's going to end this thing? This is the continuing resolution. So in order to continue negotiations, but Chuck Schumer walked out on it. You've been through this so many times, Senator. How does this end?
Well, I think it will end when enough Democrats see what they're doing to the country. I mean, flying is going to be more difficult. This is not a good time to have the government shut down with the world as dangerous as it is right now. So I'm hoping that a group of Democrats will see that the best way to get a solution on health care is not to shut down the government, is to talk with Republicans with the government open. We're not going to do a deal on health care being held hostage by a government shutdown. That's just not going to happen. So I hope there's a breakaway. There's a group of senators on the Democratic side who will see that this is hurting them, hurting the country. Right. But one thing I'm going to do in the future here, and maybe even sooner, I think in the future, every time we shut down the government, no matter what party does it, we should forfeit our pay, not have it withheld.
All right, lastly,
every week the government shut down, we should lose a month pay. That would really matter.
It would, because you don't do this to get rich. You do this for service, being in two places, you don't make a ton of money. The other area I want to bring up is what's going on in Venezuela. We're finally taking action in our own hemisphere for the first time in my lifetime. But what we're doing, drug boats, and the pressure that we're putting on Maduro, who's an illegitimate leader of that country, who lost the election 70-30, is we're starting to pressure them. But Senator Gallego says the strikes on the drug boats are not about national security. Listen.
If this president feels that they're doing something illegally, then he should be using the Coast Guard. If this is an act of war, then you use our military, and then you come and talk to us first. But this is murder. It's sanctioned murder that he is doing.
Is that how you see it? Sanctioned murder?
You know, I think that's one of the most offensive and uninformed comments I've ever heard coming from a United States senator. To the men and women in uniform who are protecting us from narco-terrorists, by blowing up these drug boats, you're not committing murder. You're following lawful orders. This is not the first time a president has dealt with our backyard in your lifetime, Brian. In 1989, President Bush 41 went into Panama and took down Manuel Noriega, president of Panama, for his ties to drug trafficking, and he was indicted. He wound up going to jail. So Maduro in Venezuela has been indicted as a drug dealer in U.S. courts, is a safe haven for narco-terrorists. And to say that we're engaging in murder is just such an outrage. The president of the United States, as commander-in-chief, has the authority to do these strikes. Nobody accused Bush of committing murder when he invaded Panama to take down Noriega. Nobody accused Reagan of murder when he went into Grenada to stop Cuban influence growing in Grenada, threatening our backyard. So the president has history on his side. He has the Constitution on his side. And to my Democratic colleagues, you're demonizing the people who are actually conducting the military operations. As to an act of war, Congress has declared war 5 times in 250 years. So when I hear that the military can't be used by the commander-in-chief unless Congress declares war, it just shows me how ignorant these people are. Congress is the only entity to put us in a state of war. But since the War Powers Act of 1973, commander-in-chiefs have used military actions 130 times without any congressional input.
Senator, it's always good to have you on. Appreciate it. And thanks for setting the table for us. It's going to be a big week.